Welcome back to Retro Gaming Banter's Atari ST Retro Restore. We continue where we left off in part 1 after dismantling the Atari and cleaning everything up for Retrobrighting. So let's get on with the second part. While the Retrobrighting is doing its thing, I can take a look at the internal disk drive that is not reading or writing to disks. As I mentioned earlier, 99% of the time this is due to the rubber belt disintegrating. So it will snap and leave the disk drive unable to spin the motor, which turns the disks. There's 4 screws on the drive case to remove, and once opened you can instantly see that the drive belt has snapped. You can see the large metal disc on the left and the smaller spindle on the top right. You can see they've got pieces of rubber like belt on them. Using some tweezers you can easily remove the belt pieces. Don't forget to check the rest of the drive to see if there's any loose pieces of rubber. While I did not see any in this one, I found them in others. You can see that the rubber belt has wrapped around itself on the spindle. It was very brittle and sticky. Once all this has been removed, you can clean the 2 parts with a cotton bud and some isopropyl alcohol. This will remove any residue left by the sticky belt. The drive itself looks to be in pretty good condition, just a bit of dust. So a quick blast of air should do the job of removing it all without any further taking apart. It's worth cleaning the drive head, which is the part that reads and writes to the disk drives. It can have dust on it, which can affect the reading of the disk. So using some isopropyl alcohol again and a cotton bud, just give that a gentle wipe over. I have ordered a new belt which will arrive in a few days, so we will replace that later in the video. Time to check up on the case and give it a quick massage to ensure that the cream is not dried up and just to even it out. As I mentioned, do this every few hours if needed. I left this Retrobrighting for around 14 hours and it was getting late, so I did not record the following part, but after you've removed it from the box, remove all the cling film and rinse the cream off with some lukewarm water, and then just dry it with a towel and air blower if it's not too late. And you can get a glimpse of the case, but you will have to wait a bit longer to see how it looks towards the end. We repeat the process for the bottom half of the case. The underside of the case is not that yellowed, but the front and sides are. So for this I'm going to try something a little bit different, which we will see further on. So just need to repeat the process of applying the cream, getting into the grill and edges again, and wrapping it up in cling film to ensure it's sealed as best as possible. Then I'm going to put this inside the box, but this time I want to try something different and not leave it for like 12 to 14 hours. After rinsing off the case, I then added some tin foil to the areas that did not need like the exposure. And the parts that did, I reapplied the cream to those. And then it was just wrapped up with cling film and put inside the Retrobrighting box again. And now we're on to retrobrighting the dreaded keyboard keys. I have seen some people stick all the keys into a clear plastic bag and then fill it with cream. They've got fairly good results, but I find that some areas can still be patchy or not even retrobrighted at all. My method does take some more time, but it means that all the keys are exposed and yeah, it's a bit easier to manage overall. Essentially, all the keys will be covered in the cream and then spaced over the cardboard. Then the cardboard's wrapped in cling film and put inside to Retrobrite. As mentioned, this does take a long time to prepare, but yeah, this is the way I'll do it. Around halfway through, instead of trying to massage all the keys, I just gave them a quick going over with some more cream. Once all the keys have been done, it's the long process of rinsing them for a second time in some lukewarm water and fairy liquid. The missus took pity on me and helped out with drying the keys after rinsing them. And now for the fun part of putting all the keys back onto the keyboard. You did remember to take a photo of the keyboard, right? A good tip is to organise the keys into groups, so you have one for the alphabet letters, one for numbers, one for function keys and so on. Yeah, and then just work your way around all the keys. On the Atari they're quite easy to put back on. You just line them up and give it a gentle push to clip back on. The space and enter keys have metal bars, which can be quite fiddly. The space bar actually wasn't too bad, but the enter key was a pain in the arse. Here is a close look at the keys. As you can see, they are more back to their normal colour, but they are not consistent. Perhaps I could have left the keys to retrobrite a little bit longer. I may come back to this when everything is put back together and decide then. I wanted to clean up the power supply shielding a little as there was some signs of rust. I used a sponge and some bleach. This one claims to help remove rust. I've never tried it, but sort of unsure on this one. Has anyone got any suggestions for cleaning and helping with rust? And now we are on the home stretch, starting with putting everything back together again. I started off with putting the motherboard back onto the bottom half of the case and then fitting the shielding back in place, which could be a little bit fiddly. After that, the power supply can be fitted and screwed in and then reconnected back to the motherboard. Then the power supply shielding can be fitted back on. Did I mention that I hate these bloody metal tabs? I don't have any affiliation with Cool Novelties apart from this is where I look when first needing things like video cables and bits and pieces. They have good prices and fast delivery, so if you need anything like that, check them out at coolnovelties.co.uk. Fitting the cable is fairly easy, and once fitted, just give it a few turns to make sure it's aligned correctly and it won't slip off. Then we just need to put the case back on. You need to align the drive and the two metal case parts just right to get the screws in. The power and data cables can then be reconnected. There's not much chance of getting them the wrong way around, so all this should be fine. And then the keyboard cable can be reconnected. Again, this only goes in one way. And I nearly forgot to put the disk drive shield back in the case. There's two screws holding it in. And then the top half of the case can be fitted, but we won't spoil that just yet. So keep watching and you'll be able to see how it looks. Putting all the screws back in is fairly straightforward. The short screws go in the bottom of the case, and the 3 long screws keep the disk drive in place, and yeah, the rest go around the top of the case. And we are finished, finally. So before we get on with the unveiling, let's remind ourselves of how it looked before we started. The case itself was very yellow with age, with the right side being the most yellowed. The keys were 50 shades of yellow instead of grey, and they were proper grimy. So without further ado, here is the result of my first retro restore. Let's get it switched on and booted up to see if everything is still working and if the drive belt has fixed the internal disk drive. The drive belt was the issue and is now reading the discs again, which is great. Although, as previously mentioned, I will be swapping the drive out for a Gotek floppy disk emulator. You can pick up a Gotek drive for the Atari ST for around 35 quid upwards on eBay. The prices vary depending on the model and the features. You can, however, go for a basic one like this. You don't really need rotary dials or external displays and so on, as you can simply auto boot to a disk image menu. So we're going to need to open the case again to remove the original disk drive and install the Gotek. The Gotek mount fits exactly where the 3 screws and the brass standoff would go on the original drive. But there is one big issue: the drive power cable is not quite long enough. I'm not sure if the power cable should be longer in general, or I have a short one. This can be easily fixed with some DuPont cables. You need male and female at either end. You can get the cables in a variety of colours. The power cable is red, black, black and blue, and I've gone with red, black, white and blue to differentiate them when connecting up. Always double and triple check when wiring anything. You don't want 5 volts going into the wrong pin and causing damage to the Gotek and even possibly the Atari itself. I will put some electrical tape on these to keep everything secure once everything has been tested. Then, just to quickly get the drive into place, I have screwed one of the long screws from the bottom of the case. And not forgetting the data cable, which is thankfully long enough to connect to the Gotek. I won't show putting the case back together as you have seen it already. And let's get it powered up and booted. The Gotek powers up straight away and proceeds to load the HXE auto boot file. This will boot into the floppy emulator file selector. You can ignore these notifications with the enter key. You are then shown the file browser, which you can browse the contents of the USB stick. You can navigate and browse folders and files with the keyboard. You can select a disk image to put into a slot. This is good if you have a large collection of disk images, so you can easily select them. Or you can simply select one and then press F7 on the keyboard to load the program straight away. Here's a quick random demo to check out. You can't get more 80s than an acid drop. Whilst this is playing in the background, I can reflect on the Retro Restore. Overall, I am very happy with it, and the Gotek edition is excellent. I will be spending a lot of time on this after making this video. I will, however, go back and retrobright the keyboard keys for a little longer, just to get them more consistent colour. Other than that, everything has gone really well. I'm very happy with it. Thanks for watching the first Retro Gaming Banter Retro Restore. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you have not already, and do check out our website, Instagram and Twitch for more content. And I hope to see you in the next video.